All right. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is outside information. There's just a couple of key facts that you need to make sure you understand for how to get the outside information points. Outside information is going to be worth 10 points on your paper. All right, so the first thing that you need to know is that this cannot be found in the document explicitly, meaning it cannot be information that is discussed in the document, but that explicit part is important. So let's say that you had a prompt that says, compare American foreign policy from 1790 to 1820, and then to another time period of 1890 to 1920. And in document A, it's John Adams addressing the Alien and Sedition Acts, him passing the Alien and Sedition Acts. Nowhere in that document does it mention the XYZ affair. So because it doesn't mention the XYZ affair in that document, you could use the XYZ affair as outside information. As long as the document is not directly talking about it, you could use your XYZ affair as an example. All right, any questions about that? That's the first thing. Second, because of this, some people get a little confused about what the difference between contextualization is and what outside information is, because they do have one big common thing, which is that you're not pulling this information from the documents. So let me just briefly explain. Contextualization should be background information where you're setting the stage for the prompt so that the audience knows the world they're entering into. Again, using the same prompt, compare American foreign policy from 1790 to 1820. If I was to do a contextualization on this, I would talk about the French and Indian War, the American Revolution, the Articles of Confederation switching to the Constitution. That would be kind of setting up American foreign policy leading up to 1790. Whereas outside information should directly be answering the prompt. So outside information would be basically what was American foreign policy during this time. So for example, XYZ affair. So contextualization is setting up the background information for the prompt. Outside information is directly answering the prompt itself. All right. Again, let me know if you have any questions. All right. The next big thing that you need to know, and some of you guys submitted your outside information as a part of your classwork number 3. And the biggest thing I saw that made me worried is your information does have to be specific. All right, so taking the prompt that you have right now, your prompt is, to what extent did the market revolution affect American society? This is what some people wrote. The market revolution led to sectionalism. Sectionalism is where the North and South had different opinions on different topics. This is not outside information, it's too vague. You need to have a specific example or event. So what is something that the market revolution created that led to sectionalism? That is outside information. All right. This isn't wrong. This shouldn't be dropped, but what should be included is a specific example. Another one, the market revolution led to women getting more rights. Beforehand, women did not have a lot of rights, but after the market revolution, they had more rights. I'm going to see this on at least 10 papers. Like, I'm going to see this exact response on 10 papers. But you need to have a specific example. Specific example for this could be the Lowell girls. Well, why am I telling you the Lowell girls? Because you can't use it because it's in the document specifically already. So sometimes the documents block what your outside information can and can't be. Because you won't be able to get to a specific enough example without mentioning something that's already talked about in the documents. So since the information has to be specific, this is why I highly encourage students using the ACE method, because the whole idea of ACE is that you are going to have a specific example that supports your understanding of, or your answer. So the answer would be the market revolution led to sectionalism. The site would be defining sectionalism is fine. You can still define sectionalism, but you need to have a specific example of sectionalism that the market revolution caused. And then you need to explain how that specific example changed society. And then The other thing is your outside information needs to be in the thesis. It needs to fit into one of the argumentative buckets of the thesis. It could even be its own bucket. So if your thesis was the market revolution greatly affected American society by blank and blank, and blank is just your outside information, it's like its own separate bucket, that's fine. If your outside information fits in with one of the other buckets that the documents are setting up, that's also fine. Either one is fine. However, it has to be represented in the thesis. And the reason why it has to be represented in the thesis is because this is what your explain is going to do. Your explain is going to argue how it is represented in a thesis, how it answers the question. All right. Any questions about that outside information?
So it's supposed to be its own little paragraph?
That's what I would do. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna, when we talk about complexity, a little bit of this stuff has to do with how comfortable you are. You're not going to get any points off for it being your its own paragraph. If you feel comfortable like lumping it in with some of the other documents, you can do that. That's okay. Any other questions? Okay. Hold on one sec.